Fantastic. So what I'm going to be discussing is how not to get triggered by the subject of digital twins. There's going to be a lot of good talk, and Mark was excellent around what digital twins are, what they might be, how we talk about them. But what I'm going to address is some of the issues we have in talking about them currently in the industry. Before I do, should really introduce myself. My name is John Adams. My official title is Digital Construction Strategist at Glider Technology. But because of the career I've had, I've worked for clients as a client, I've worked with contractors, I've designed buildings as an architect, I've worked on the software side. I kind of get up of a morning, decide what job title I need for the day's activities, and make one up on the fly. So today I'm going to be a conscientious disruptor. Not easy to say, but it's what I'm all about today. And here's the issue that I'm going to try and disrupt a little. We've got lots of people out in the industry, very happy delivering BIM, good tools, good models, good structured data, but with the sure and certain knowledge that their client isn't going to get any use or benefit after handover. And then as soon as people start talking about what we do with that data after handover, it starts upsetting people. There's lots of people who think we shouldn't even be talking about digital twins. It's too early, it's too complex, let's not do it. So how did we get here? I think there's a good reason for how we got here. I'm going to run through that and see if you agree with me and maybe suggest some ways forward. So many of you may have seen this. I drew this nearly 5 years ago now, and it was my best stab at what I thought the industry was going to do. In 2016, I put my head on a block and said, I think level 2 is actually going to stick. We're heading into the early majority now. It's not going to fail, and it's not going to find itself down in the chasm. And by 2018, we were about halfway through the industry. Some people will move on to level 3, and others will lag behind and adopt level 2. And as long as they didn't leave it too late, they could join everyone else in this new digital construction nirvana later on. I was wrong. We didn't get halfway through the industry by 2018. Absolutely not. We tried. We did put a lot of effort in, but it was, I think it was just harder than we thought it was. Lots of people went and had a good talk about how they were doing level 3 when it didn't really exist yet. And when I refactored this diagram about a year ago, I decided we're here. And I think it was time for a new go. So I had another stab at it based on my thoughts as of yesterday. Still confident we crossed the chasm, still confident we're stuck in the early majority, but quite a lot of other things have changed. There's no level 2 anymore. We don't call it level 2 anymore. It's the BIM framework. We've got Digital Build Britain. But what we still have is an industry very much stuck in this early majority phase and moving very slowly. We're expecting a nice fresh mandate in the idea of a nice cabbage here to try and coax our BIM framework turtle along. Hopefully that's going to speed things up. And we also have the UK BIM Alliance, who've got a number of levers that they can pull to up adoption, like our affiliates program. There's all sorts of things we're doing. The more people who get involved in the Alliance, the quicker we will be able to adopt what is known as BIM and was formerly known as BIM Level 2. And then to the right of the diagram, a bit that was a little bit woolly on the last one where we just said, well, it's level 3, isn't it? We'll define it later. We've now got CDB BB on board, and they've put up a bit of a roadblock saying we're not going to be able to adopt digital twins and other technologies unless we get around this issue of purpose, trust, and function of data, because there's quite a lot of risk there. And that makes a lot of sense to me. And they are going at it. They're trying to work that out. And some people are trying to do some stuff the other side of that roadblock, which is, of course, a risk. Not many, not as many as people say there are, but there's people trying to develop technologies, people trying to link systems together and do some clever things to take us towards this new digital paradigm on the other side of what's now going to be lots of different chasms. We're not just trying to do digital twins, we're trying to digitize the whole industry. And what that's led to is lots of people with different feelings about the whole journey. We started in 2011. Some people got on early, they've improved the way they work, they're making more money and they're happy. Others put in an awful lot of effort and haven't seen as much return or as much industry adoption as they would have liked. Some people are still concerned. And these guys over here are just about to fall into other chasms because they're concerned that what they're developing and what they're working on, nobody can adopt yet. There's a lot of confusion and not anger, but some frustration and a lot of excitement in the industry at the moment, but it's quite dispersed. And that's led us into a position where we've wound up with some factions around BIM, people with different schools of thought. We've almost found ourselves in little niches. When that comes to digital twins, we can break it into two. Mark called these the practitioners, often get called the coalface, the people trying to deliver projects using digital techniques. It's hard, we know it is. On the other side of that fence, Mark called them experts, I tend to call them academics. They're trying to work this out within the context of purpose, trust, and function. How do we take all of the things that are going on with BIM and GIS, smart building technologies, to actually have a safe impact on society? Where that's led us to is a scenario much like Gullivers Travels, where we've got the big Endians and the little Endians. In Gullivers Travels, that was about which end of the egg do you break. People had always broken one end of the egg, and then the king said, do it the other way, and it started a war. We have our different definitions, big Endians who don't want to move on to digital twins until we embed BIM properly. Totally get it, and I sympathize with it. But then the other side of the fence, we need to work out what's next to stay ahead of the game. Part of the reason that we pushed so hard in the UK for BIM was to make the UK a leader, a global leader in construction and digital construction. And the other people who aren't in either are a bit confused because there's a lot of language going on. Some people talking about BIM, some people saying don't talk about BIM, others talking about digital twins, all sorts of stuff. It's quite noisy out there at the moment, and that's got to be concerning for people. So this is why I've decided to be conscientious today, because I've just given the industry a kicking in the first few slides. Now I'm going to try and make up for that a little bit, because I do feel this moral responsibility to work carefully and be fair to others. Both sides of this discussion have valid points. And both sides of the discussion are fighting a good fight. The UK BIM Alliance and all of the BIM folk trying to adopt BIM and the tools and the schemas best they can. That really is a valuable task. And defining what we're going to do with all of that nice structured data and models and how we make that social good, also valuable. But what I don't think people always appreciate, and I tend to, because I've worked both sides of the line here, is both sides are a little bit scared of the other and worried about the other. That the academia side want to make sure that what they're doing does include the industry, like Mark says, and they're always worried that what they're coming up with won't actually be feasible, won't be adopted. There's plenty of academic ideas in the chasm. And on the flip side of that, the people who are working every day to try and get the models right and try and improve the situation and work on top of what we call level 2 BIM to make a really structured set of information from a project, they're worried that there's going to be a change of direction at government level, a move away from the things they've been learning and the processes that they've been working on and embedding into their businesses. So both sides have some concerns, legitimate concerns. So what I thought I'd do today is try and establish a couple of ground rules, and I'm not mad enough to think that I can set the rules for the industry. I don't think anybody actually can. I'll propose a few and see how people feel about it, and we'll have a chat in the Q&A afterwards about it. So first one, definition. Stop trying to redefine BIM, and also stop telling people to not say BIM, okay? And I know some people are disagreeing with me right now, but that's fine, I'm going to explain myself. We have the scenario on the right where people are starting to talk about digital construction, and we've got lots of other little tree houses with different names for it, digital engineering and all that. And then we've got an industry who've only just heard about BIM, Some of them want to adopt, some of them want to read up on it. Some people want to learn about this, and we're pulling up the ladder saying, we're not talking about BIM anymore. We all got into this, a lot of us did anyway, because we noticed BIM. It was a very successful 3-letter acronym, and we have gone away, learned about it. We know that it's not the perfect definition of all the things that we do. And if you want to take it out of your job title, great. You want to take it out of the name of your business, absolutely fine. But sometimes it is BIM. It's in the ISO, it's defined. We're at the point now where we don't have to keep writing our own definitions of BIM. We just use the one that's in the ISO and accept that BIM does still exist and it's part of our international standards. This is the way we're working. BIM has a place. And for the avoidance of doubt, it's a use of a shared digital representation of a built asset to facilitate design, construction and operation processes to form a reliable basis for decisions. So call a spade a spade. If it's BIM, it's BIM. If it's not BIM, it could be digital twins. It could be something else. There's many things that we can talk about beyond BIM in this realm of digital construction, but we shouldn't be scared of the definition of BIM. So I'm telling you not to stop saying BIM, but do stop saying level 2. That didn't make the journey to ISO. It has been lost along the way. I think it did a lot of good in its time, but it was never quite fully adopted, defined, and entirely tangible. And it just couldn't make that step up to international level, and that's fine. So we don't really talk about level 2 BIM anymore. If you want the same outcome as level 2 defined, put that in the EIR, say we're after these things that you can find in the old copy of PAS, but then please try and align to the ISOs. But yeah, level 2 officially dead. Then on the flip side of the definitions, we have digital twins. So BIM, we have a definition after years of trying. Digital twins don't really. We have opinions of what they are. My opinion of what one is you haven't got a digital twin unless you have a digital representation of the built asset and you connect the two for some good. If you're not creating some insight that you couldn't have got from one or the other without connecting them, you haven't really got a digital twin. You might have something very clever, but you're not deriving any insight. You probably have not got a digital twin. But I'm not going to propose that as the definition of digital twins because there's a lot more to it. And people who think they've got a definition of digital twins, let's clear up. You haven't. It's not done yet. If you would like to argue, I'd love to argue in the Q&A about people's definitions of digital twins, but I don't think we're there yet, and that's fine. We haven't got a definition. Let's work towards one together. Whether it's academics and coalface, whether it's experts and practitioners, whichever way you want to talk about it, we need both sides of this debate to come together to define what we do with all this data and these smart buildings and how we connect it all together. Last time we tried defining it ourselves and everyone coming up with their own slide, we got totally parodied by BIM Level 8, which has gone on to be one of the most successful diagrams in BIM. And the longer you look at it, the funnier it gets. So whoever put that on the internet, kudos to you. But let's not go down the same route. Let's not get ourselves BIM levelated again with digital twin. There is some good work going on towards the definition. Gemini Principles, other documents coming out of CDBB. The Arab document's very good. And what both of these documents and the others are well-researched pieces of work taking us towards what could be considered a definition and a solution and a methodology for doing this. Get involved. But please, I don't want to start going to the digital twin conferences that are going to pop up and everyone put up a slide and say, what is a digital twin, and define it. If I'm in the audience, I'm going to have a crack at it. So let's not do that. Ground rule number 2, in my opinion, it's not a competition. It's not like when Hollywood decided to replace the coolest man in the world with his team with a gang of Asian stars led by caffeinated worst Batman ever, George Clooney. With Ocean's 11, well, we're not doing that. This isn't a replacement of what was the team that brought us level 2. We're just adding some more people to the mix. So we have the UK BIM Alliance management team and the CDBB management team, and there's a lot of people behind those people doing an awful lot of great work. Left-hand side, mainly focusing on making sure BIM is adopted well into our industry. Right-hand side, what do we do with the results of BIM being adopted well in our industry, and tying that into Industry 4.0 and other sources of data. And the keen eyed amongst you will spot we have a pair in Dr. Anne Kemp. So this isn't two camps, this is joined up thinking, and we are working towards the same goal of a digital build Britain. And as Mark said more eloquently than I'm going to, there are ways of us working together in a formal manner. So the industrial strategy kicked up some dust and made some money available for Innovate UK, knowledge transfer partnerships, business cases for collaborative projects. There are ways of working together in a formal way, but it doesn't have to be formal. Everyone's got a phone, everyone's got an email address. If you're starting to get involved in this stuff, make some phone calls. The BIM Alliance can help get in contact with the right people if you are practitioner side. If you're the other side of the fence and you're looking for people from industry to work with, you can go to CDBB. We know each other, we can work this out. So ground rule number 3, structure your data, please. We've been talking about this for a long time, and day to day, people sit at their computers and they create new data about built assets, and they don't give it logical, structured names. They don't put a schema around it. There is a place for just being clear. So real, clear language still makes sense in all of this. Mark's arrows of 1s and 0s coming back from the building. Yeah, buildings might be talking in binary, but at some point that's got to be called the same thing at one end as the other, or at least mapped to it, and a little bit of logical sense helps there. And this is something I found really useful. It's mainly used in the research community, but if you are creating anything, even if it's the name of a BIM object, a document, it should be findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. So if you can create fair data in this definition, we're going to be able to work with it when we come to the point where we're looking at digital twins or mapping some data from a smart building into a system. If you've looked at it through this lens of creating data in an easy to consume way, then we're going to be able to find a way. If you've taken what's been given to you or you're relying on GUIDs and that kind of thing, it's going to make it harder for people further down the line. Recently, I don't know whether everyone saw, there was a draft of this document on the right hand side, BIM Interoperability Expert Group Report. I was proud to be part of the invitees who came to speak to the select committee about this, and there was an awful lot of good suggestions that were put forward in the eventual report. I agreed with the report in many ways, and one of the things that they suggested is COBie needs to go on a bit of a journey, but we need to stick with it, and I couldn't agree more. If you see at the bottom here, COBie, we are not using most of it. I know it's got detractors and people say it doesn't work. We're only using a small fraction of what COBie can do. In many cases, we're using it badly by putting data that isn't fair into the schema and then expecting the schema to magically make sense of it. So putting well-named information into this schema is something that's going to serve us well for some time yet. I think there's quite a lot of headroom left in COBie as it is, but I'm also acutely aware there are some things that need work within that schema. As an MVD of IFC, there are things that don't quite stack up. We're not going through them now, but to allow us to use the rest of the schema really well, we need to show it a little bit of love, or we could send it one of these really annoying Facebook hugs that have emerged recently. So in summary of my ground rules, be careful with your definitions. Think carefully about what you're defining and what you're not defining. And if there is a definition, please use it. It's not a competition between digital twin people and BIM people, or coalface and academics, experts and practitioners. We are trying to make a digital industry together, and those projects to solve these problems require both halves. And structure data, please do. Each time you create data, it doesn't take long to put a bit of structure around it. If you're writing standards and things for projects and plans, it does take a bit of thinking, but it is worthwhile doing, because at the end of the job, we get a lot more usable information. And we can only define and deliver a digital build Britain if we work together. So before I jump off the call, I've still got a few minutes to tell you why do we care as Glider Technology, because I don't know whether people know too much about what we do. They probably know we're a technology provider, but the main reason why we care about digital twins is because our customers do. These are the kind of people that we work with, and it's client side owner operators or people who have buildings for a long time, and they have some very complex buildings that's starting to be pretty smart. So we share their vision of what smart buildings can be done, can be used for when they're connected with data from projects for genuine insight. And we're also working with the DIO. Can't tell you too much about why they care about data, but you'll have to trust me, they really, really do. So the people we work with care a lot about structured data, digital twins, and what that future looks like. So we're along for the ride with them, trying to help where we can. There's this brilliant building over in Amsterdam. Deloitte are a customer of ours, and there's some great case studies around this. But this is a really clever building, has its own app, has lots of metrics, an awful lot of sensors. It's allocating desks to people when they're coming into a radius of the building. The users can change the occupancy in terms of the heating and the lighting of the little part that they're working from. It's a really clever building. And people like this, our customers, are asking us, how do we connect this back? And unlike Mark's arrows with the ones and zeros, we're starting to think about how we actually put this kit of parts together. We haven't nailed it yet, so I'll not dwell too long on this diagram, but this is what we're about. The Glider vision statement for 2020, obviously it won't be done within a year, but this is how we see things this year, is to build an advanced relationship between the built environment and society through innovative data management technology. So that's what we're all about. I hope I've given you a few things to think about, and I look forward to hearing from you in Q&A.